Hello friends, we are starting with a new chapter, that is disaster management, and today we are learning about disaster management cycle. In the previous lectures, I have covered primary healthcare, occupational health and communication for health education. Make sure to check them out. So let's begin today's session. So why it is important to learn about disaster management? Because disaster not just affect the health and well-being of people both physically and mentally, but also cause injuries, loss of life, and significantly increase the risk of epidemics. They lead to economic damage, collapse of healthcare infrastructure, and undermine sustainable development goals. Hence it becomes critically important for us to learn about disaster management. So what is a disaster? Disaster is an event or calamity resulting in human casualties, injuries and death. Also, it results into destruction of property, disruption of normal activity, occurring on a scale that needs help from outside the affected area, which could be the military, NGOs or the neighboring state. So there are three aspects of disaster management: disaster preparedness, disaster response, and the last is disaster mitigation. When any disaster occurs, the following sequence of actions take place, which is called as disaster management cycle. So first, there is disaster impact. This is when the disaster hits. It could be earthquake, explosion, floods, etc. It disrupts the life and overwhelms the system. Next is the response. After that, there is rehabilitation and reconstruction to restore the life to normal as early as possible, followed by mitigation and disaster preparedness. So now let us learn each in detail. First is disaster impact and immediate response. The period of impact of a disaster may last for few minutes in case of earthquake, several hours during cyclone, or even days in floods. Most injuries are sustained during the impact, and thus the greatest need for emergency care occurs in the first few hours. The management of mass casualties can be further divided into search and rescue, first aid, field care, triage and stabilization of patient, hospital treatment and redistribution of patient to other hospital if necessary, and tagging. First is search, rescue and first aid. The organized relief services might not be sufficient to search and rescue the large number of people. Hence, immediate help is received from uninjured survivors who assist them in the search, rescue, and first aid. The second is field care, where the basic amenities like food, shelter should be provided. The health resources are redirected to provide care to the injured. A helpline center should be established to respond to patients, family, friends, and relatives. Every effort should be made to identify the dead victim and should be shifted to a separate designated place as mortuary. The third is triage. Triage consists of rapidly classifying the injured on the basis of severity of their injuries and likelihood of their survival with prompt medical intervention. Higher priority is granted to those victims whose immediate or long-term prognosis can be dramatically affected by simple intensive care. Moribund patients who require a great deal of attention with questionable benefit have lowest priority. So this is the only approach that can provide maximum benefit to the greatest number of injured in a major disaster situation. Red indicates high priority treatment or transfer, yellow signals medium priority, and green indicates ambulatory patient, and black for dead or moribund patients. I will make a separate video on it. Fourth is tagging. The patients are identified with the tags which provides the information such as name, age, contact, address and the treatment given. Relief phase. This phase starts when help or assistance is obtained from outside. Measures are taken to prevent the occurrence of epidemics. Arrangements are made to provide food, clothes, shelter and drug. Mass immunization with cholera and typhoid is not recommended. Tetanus toxoid should be given to the injured person. The second phase is rehabilitation and reconstruction. This should be started from the time of onset of disaster to restore as early as possible to normal condition of life that is to pre-disaster condition. So these are the services which are reconstructed and reorganized. So the first priority of ensuring water quality in emergency situation is chlorination. So the water is chlorinated with residual chlorine of 0.7 ppm. The source of water should also be protected from any contamination. The second is food supply. Poor hygiene is the major cause of foodborne diseases in disaster situation. Where feeding programs are used, kitchen sanitation is of utmost importance. Personal hygiene should be monitored in individuals involved in food preparation. Next is sanitation. Many communicable diseases are spread through fecal contamination of drinking water and food. Hence, every effort should be made to ensure the sanitary disposal of excreta. Temporary trench latrines should be constructed for disposing of human excreta. Washing, cleaning, and bathing facilities to be provided. Also, environmental measures has to be taken to control the breeding of mosquitoes. Insecticidal spraying should be carried out. Of special concern are dengue fever, malaria, leptospirosis, rat bite fever, typhus, plague. Flood water provides an ample breeding opportunities for mosquitoes. Then there is care of survivors. Efforts are made to reintegrate the survivors of disaster into the society with the help of NGOs, Department of Social Welfare, etc. Orphan children should be taken care. Next is mitigation. This involves measures to lessen the likely effects of emergencies, thereby reducing the rehabilitation and reconstruction cost. This includes protection of vulnerable population and structures. For example, improving the structural qualities of schools, houses, and such other buildings, ensuring the safety of health facilities and public health services, including the water supply and sewerage system. This mitigation complements the disaster preparedness and disaster response activities. So, what is disaster preparedness? Disaster preparedness is a program of long term development activities whose goals are to strengthen the overall capacity and capability of a country to manage efficiently all types of emergency. Ensure that appropriate system, procedures, and resources are in place to provide prompt, effective assistance to victims of disaster and facilitate relief measures and rehabilitation of services. So, a disaster management unit should evaluate from the past experiences the risk to the area, identify the location of disaster prone areas, adopt standard operating procedure, organize communication, information, and warning systems, ensure coordination and response mechanism, develop public education program, coordinate with news and media, also maintain national international relations, organize disaster simulation exercises that test response mechanism, conduct training of health staff, and adopt measures for quick mobilization of financial and other resources like food, drugs, and other essential commodities. If you found this helpful, like the video, share it with others, and subscribe for more.